This is the Grapple of Your Eye podcast, episode 6, Trevor Hoskins. My guest today is Trevor Hoskins, who is from a well-known face around British wrestling. Trevor, tell us just a little quick bit about yourself.
Okay, so currently my main jobs, and it's never one, I do all the membership system, which works all the IT in the background and sort of competitions generally there. And the other main one is actually coach education. So, which sort of flicks over a little bit into referee education, although that's not a job I actually relish, but I don't mind teaching. So
Fair enough. So where did it all begin for you? When did you first become aware of wrestling and get drawn into its wicked web?
Okay, probably starts a little bit before that. I was doing a self-defense martial arts system, which sort of borrowed from everything from Wing Chun. And then my coach actually did a wrestling seminar and came back and got us to use wrestling as a little bit of a pressure test. You could push someone without injury, shall we say. You could
Okay.
really make life difficult for them. Did that for about 20 years, got to, second dan black belt, and then we were teaching in a school, and the school upped their prices. So my coach did a little bit of an agreement with the local wrestling club who was struggling because their coach, Tony Phillips, he was a window fitter, so he's spending a lot of time away. And the agreement was we could use their mats if we would help them coach wrestling. And sort of wrestling took over a little bit because once you start going to competitions and you're a lot of traveling, training 2 or 3 times a week and whatever, and then you get involved in your own personal training as well as everybody else's, couldn't keep both of them going. So I found that in my mid to late 30s, the wrestling was probably a little bit less, less of a stress on my body. And that's saying something.
Fair enough. So at that point in time then, when sort of, without needing to reveal your age, but when would that sort of been, and what were the numbers like in those days?
So we were looking at I would say the sort of the mid 90s. And then it was very difficult to say because at that time, you only had to take out a wrestling membership if you wanted to compete. So there was probably a lot of people out there who were training, but there was no traceability. So wrestling didn't know how big it actually was. Yeah. So I took over the membership in about 2000, and there was about 500 people in total, including all the coaches and everything. And to put it to, in today's context, we're about 2.6, 2.7. So it's taken a while, but this big jump, we've doubled since our new CEO took over. A lot, he seems to have, the way he's got the membership and everything set up, it seems to encourage people to want to join because it's twofold. So you've got all the membership and you've got all the clubs. And we're at the end of last year, we were at 75 clubs, and we've already got nearly 60 registered for this year, because it expires in the end of December and starts again in January. So we're 3/4 of the way through to last year's, and we got more and more clubs are wanting to join us because we've got different levels of membership for clubs. So MMA clubs can join, working on their own insurance until they build up to a level where they can become a fully affiliated club. So, we have an entry level club for those. And we got a lot of those wanting to come on board.
Okay, so you're running your club now. Wrestling is taking over. How did you then get involved with the organisation of it? Now you went for British wrestling across the whole of the UK. Where did that sort of when did that morph across into an official seat at the table?
So I'd say round about the 2000s, the the guy who was the chair of British Wrestling at that time, he moved up to become the chair of British Wrestling and vacated the chair of the region, and he sort of uh, managed to persuade me, shall we say, to go for the chair's job. So I started by running the actual region, which is the Midlands region. Really, really small. At that time, it included Wales. So the Midlands region was absolutely enormous.
So just to pause you there, what would be involved in running a region then for people listening to this and sort of wondering?
At that time, it was pretty minimal. It was just generally talking to clubs, helping them with their problems, getting them affiliated to the national governing body. Just generally help. It was a fairly minimal job, so it's still not onerous. But if you want to take it to its extreme, it can be a really, really, because we've got 20 plus clubs now in the region when we had about 6, so keeping a track of anything that clubs need to do, because joining the federation is a little bit more, and it's not difficult so much as there's more hoops to jump through. Sport England has driven the governance drive, so they are expecting clubs to have committees, to have treasurers, to have all the usual bits and pieces, a safeguarding officer, everything, to try to make it safe. And it is all about the safety, and whether that is financial safety or whether that is personal safety for the athletes. And it's a big thing that that they have driven, and it's quite important.
Okay, so you're a regional manager. What happens next?
Well, I was lucky enough to be made redundant. And I decided to sort of go full-time coaching. And at the time, the federation was short of a national coach. So just by sheer luck, they would phone me up on a Thursday and say, "What you doing at the weekend?" And just, "Right, you're taking a group out too." And out to Cyprus, out to Poland, out to whatever. So I'd just take a group of people over, meet them at the airport, get them, just keep an eye on them while they were out there, young lads. Most of which I still keep in contact with, and they'll laugh. It's like, they drop us in Krakow, give us a street code in a in a town 2 hours away, and expect us to find it. Those sort of things. So it was,
Before Google.
you get used to walking out of an airport and expect to be picked up. So
okay. And what was it like then as national coach? What other, so obviously
I wasn't the national coach. I was just there as a stand-in. So it was more just managing trips away. No way was I, I was not involved in the training of these athletes, but I was involved in getting them to the competition, make sure they hit weight, getting their warm-up sorted, making sure they were there in time to go on the mats, all the little bits and pieces that a coach does when they go away to a competition. So, and it was, few of them, you'd get them, you got a feeling as you were traveling out. It's like, I made a point of always taking a set of scales with me. And they got to know that. So as soon as I turned up at an airport, they'd come, grab the scales, disappear, and then they know if they could eat. I'm not a fan of cutting weight. It's not a weight management is one thing, but what was happening back then was, most of them, it wasn't a lot. It was half a kilo, whatever. They were well within their weight, but it's not a nice thing. I've done it myself, and I don't like it. And it's even more so. And later on, we'll get on to the current stance of British wrestling and actual weight management. So,
Okay. So then, so you're in that current role at the moment. What happened next after that then? So you've done all these trips. You're getting them there. You're getting them on weight. You're getting them on the mats.
Well, the next thing was there was a drive again by Sport England to actually qualify coaches, to give them a lot
Mhm.
more information. And as you've been on some of the courses,
Yeah,
that British Wrestling, you'll know that they are. There's a lot of information thrown at you. We have to give everybody the opportunity to know everything, whether they
yeah,
remember much of it, but at least they'll go, oh, yeah, I've come across that. So I was involved in the design of those courses, and they were originally what's known as UKCC. They've morphed through several different things. Everybody, there's a lot of sports still refer to them as the UKCC, and they haven't been a thing for about 8 or 9 years. But and then it went through, First for Sport and all of these. So, and they've actually got uh, a lot more point in terms of the delivery has got more succinct, and it's like, we spend a lot of time initially in including stuff on how to actually run and manage a club,
yeah,
and then so that sort of thing has been dropped. And because we've got a lot of clubs now, and we have a club development officer, so there's another way of giving them that information without, because a level 2 initially was 4 days. Well, it was 5 days because it included one day of on the mat technical training, then 4 days, and we've managed to get that down to, we've put a whole load of the learning as a interactive resource, so it's down to 2 days, which so you do one
yeah. And
weekend, job done. Level
because
one is
because
just,
the oh
yep.
god, sorry, carry on. Yeah, sorry,
No,
I've
I
interrupted
was
you.
going to
So
say
carry on.
level one is one day. So I don't know. I can't remember how many days. Was yours just a 2 day one, or did you do the
No,
level
the level one was the one day, and
one day?
with
Yeah.
the training log,
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
logbook
Yeah.
as well, which I thought was really good actually, because I think
Okay.
something like that really
Yeah.
helps because it gives people time to actually go through. There's a lot of stuff in the training log, so that helps you think about like why you're coaching, how you're coaching, and the different things that you need to do, and from
So
health and safety to on the mat stuff. And I just think that was a really good thing because it
so
got a lot of
all of
stuff out of
that.
the way on the day as well. Yeah.
Yeah. All of that is now online.
Yeah, so
So
it's all
instead of
online. You do that
filling in,
beforehand. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's good that the training log has gone. We tended to find that coaches are not particularly good sometimes at paperwork. Okay. So when you're presented with a 40 or 50-page Word document to fill in, it's quite daunting.
I'm a
So
school teacher. I'm used to those.
I know, and the school teachers absolutely loved it. I just, when it comes to doing training plans,
Yeah.
I've got, one school teacher, when he turned up at the course and it was like, you should do training logs, and he put his down on the table. Some of the other coaches went, oh my God, you know, it was so in detail. Uh, he was a maths teacher, whether that's maths or PE. I've seen the training logs of PE teachers. I work with a PE teacher. Theirs is a lot different. It's very much they still record everything, but
Hmm.
ones I've worked with, you got a central theme, and then there's lines go out all over the place, and you know I'm not so sure someone could follow their training log, whereas
Training
his,
classroom.
yeah.
So for anyone who's listening to this and isn't sure about it, what would be the difference between the level one and the level two?
Okay. So level one, the assumption is you know wrestling, or at least a little bit of wrestling. We've not had much coaching experience, so we teach you how to communicate. A little bit about rapport, how to do a demo. Loads of different ways. You can either do it as a stop-start demo. You can do it as a silent demo where you do all the movement and you ask the questions. The big emphasis is on asking questions. You know,
Yeah.
check for understanding. Yeah, because it's, especially with children, you say, do you understand? And you get a load of nods, and you don't really know whether they've understood or not. So you need to ask the questions, and they love to answer the questions. Kids absolutely love to be found right. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. That's lovely. Little Joey, that was great. Amy, what do you think? And those sort of things. And it's, and you get people growing up with an understanding of why they are doing something rather than just doing it because that's what coach says. I'm sort of, my coaching style has evolved to, more in terms of taking what someone's got and making them better at that, rather than trying to give them what I would do, because they're not little models of me. I'm getting older and not quite as quick and as agile as I used to be. So it works, and you get some people with some very unusual techniques sometimes, shall we say? But it's their technique. They've made it their own.
Yeah.
Once they've got it, then you can always refine it. But it's getting that understanding in them first. So.
Mm-hmm. And then what? So then the level 2, what would the main
So,
parts of that be? Would you say?
So at the moment, apart from all the PowerPoint stuff that you do that you have to do because of understanding, loads of group discussions on why are we asking you to do safeguarding? Why are we talking about weight management? Why are we talking about this? And then you see what people think, and I love it when people who are what I'd not call not dyed in the wool or not natural wrestlers. They've come from an MMA club. They've come from a BJJ club. They actually have a different thought process. And when you throw them in with wrestlers, all of a sudden they come up with a different set of understanding. A friend of mine says in wrestling, there is no right and wrong, just different. So, and the same applies to that. You don't say that's right, that's wrong. It's like, okay, provided it gets to the end result, then it's okay. You can think what you like, just make it. Else, we'd have a whole load of robots and it would be boring, so yeah. So then apart from that, they actually do a lot of coaching. So it's a principle-based coaching session. So for the level 2, you'd say they do about 5 or 6 10-minute sessions over 2 days. Well, when there's a group of 6, that probably means you do 10 minutes coaching, but you are being coached for 50 minutes 6 times. That's, so we have to build some breaks in because it's, physically, it's not the same as you do a training session at a club, but it's still physically demanding on because the coaches, we get some younger ones, but you also get people who are, have moved on. Their wrestling career has come to an end. They want to give back. So therefore they may not be or they've been injured and they've stopped. So it's hard work. So you'd give a principle. So one that springs to mind is rotation. Okay. All you've got to do is design a session around rotation. So what does rotation mean to one coach is different to what rotation means to another. One coach might pick up a judo style shoulder throw. Another might go to gut wrench, both of which are rotation. Okay. So it's very open to interpretation, which then allows them to show what they can, what they can teach. And then we have a mind on their technical aspects of, we've got a basis of videos, a video library, which is the award system that is a, for those who haven't got a lot of wrestling technique, there's some stuff there they can draw from. YouTube's okay if you have a coach's eye. Not everything you see, because it's staged, not everything is always practical. So you need to always look at it and go, okay, I'm going to try it first. It looks like it might work, but not sure. Or, whoa, that don't seem right. Okay. So you've got to judge it. Not everything out there is pucker. So
everything needs to be adapted. 100%.
Yeah.
Looks great in a quick video, but in real life,
yes. Yeah. My students know when I pull one of them aside and say, can we try this? I'm trying to figure out how something works.
Okay, so overseeing a lot of that at the moment. And so is that where you is that your main role now? Is that where you've gone from the regional coaching, taking the guys on the trips, whatever, and then now sort of into the coaching, into the membership and that sort of side of it?
Yeah.
Is that your main development area now?
Yes. Well, I spent a few years with the international governing body doing the same thing.
Okay.
So I got to
how's
travel
that?
abroad. And
what's it like? Is there a difference between British and international, would you say?
yes. Yeah. In terms of perhaps you'll get some very high technical ability, and then they struggle on the passing of the information on, especially when it comes down to basics.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really good, but passing it on, they need just that little bit of help. They don't always get the questioning side. They're very good at it must be like this. And it turns out fantastic athletes, Olympic level athletes, but not necessarily. So you just try to give them another option. Yeah. And what I tended to do was, it was level 1 and level 2. So out there, so it was the lower level. So it was a lot of athletes who were coming to the end of their competitive, were wanting to go into coaching. So you'd go out, so I went to Lahore in Pakistan and had, I don't know, 30 plus coaches in a room, working through an interpreter. I had an absolute brilliant course organizer working with me, Farid, still keeping contact. And he, in fact, he contacted me yesterday because he's going out to Serbia, and just need to what do you think about this? So it keeps you in contact with people all over the world, and there isn't a great deal of difference in terms. You get to see countries' strengths, so you get to see what they're good at. Some countries are really, really good technical. Some are really, really strong, and then you get others that are a mixture of the two. Get to read a little bit of the style, which I think something about GB. You can't turn around and say we've got a particular style, because we are a mixture of the American method, the Iranian method, the Eastern European method. So yes, the Americans are really strong. The Iranians are a mixture of technique and strength, and Eastern European, they just seem to flow everywhere, and it's like fantastic to watch. And then all of a sudden you'll see, oh, hang on a minute, the Americans are going that way, and you find out they've got an Eastern European coach in there, and it's so the whole thing flows around the world. One country gets really, really good at something and starts to win, and then another country has to decide how we're going to stop that and impose our method again. It's
global chess.
Yes. Okay, absolutely. Love it.
Okay, so from there you've gone international, and now you're back in the UK for British wrestling. What was happening then? What made you come back?
Well, I never left, and it was just an ad hoc, 2 or 3 times a year, just sent away. So their courses were 40 hours long. So you'd go out for a whole week. You'd have people for a week. So you can imagine the time involved flying out. I think the furthest I flew was probably Cambodia. So you'd do 20-hour flight.
Yeah, that's
drop in, do 4 days work, get on a plane, come back again. So it's there's a lot of traveling involved, which I'm lucky I can sleep on a plane, so I'm off. But, so I tend to, apart from still coaching the coaches, I set clubs up and just get them running, try to get them self-sufficient, try to get them functioning well. And then, I won't say back off, because they also, it's the time. So my initial club was obviously Middleton and Wirksworth, which has been going nearly 70 years. So very well established club.
Yeah.
And it was down to virtually no wrestlers. Before the pandemic, it built back up, and it was doing really, really well. And it's only just coming back from the pandemic. Whereas one of the other clubs I run, which is Fatua in Peterborough, they invest in their young athletes. So now they've probably got 10 to 12 coaches in there.
Excellent.
6 or 7 level 2s, a whole load of young level 1s. It might even be more than that now. And they've come back hard from COVID. So last week they totted up 85 on the mat on one night over 3 different classes. So
that's very good. Yeah,
very, very busy, and the coaches are really researching moves. They've been on the national squads as athletes, and they're now going to the coaches. Some of them are still competing, but their emphasis, out of that 85, only about 20 of them compete. They don't push for competition. That's not what they're about. They're all about getting people off the street in that sort of 6 till 8, 6 till 9, get the kids in the room doing something, enjoyably, something that keeps them fit, something where they're getting to get that sort of frustration out, rather than doing it out on the street. And it's working well for them. So.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. So what now then in a day-to-day, what issues are you wrestling with in your role now?
So we had a new CEO just before COVID, and he took one look at our competition system and went, we can't do this on paper. It's taking too long. And then he managed to get a whole load of money, and we had a bespoke competition system. And so it kept me active and stopped me going mad during COVID, because my job was to break it. So it came in just as COVID. So they were working on it during COVID. So they'd send me the latest version. Me and our club development officer would sit there in our living rooms, run us, imaginary competition and see what happened. Yeah. And then again and again and again. And we've now got, reasonable thing. And so I do all of the background work. I try where possible to get clubs to do it themselves, because it's not that hard. It's fairly intuitive, I think. Although you might be able to give me a better idea because you use it down at your club.
I think it's very good. I think it works really well. It's just the panic of the day of making sure where we do 2 competitions a year. Is that initial panic of making sure it's all on there properly to begin with. Once it's going, I'm fine. But
yes, yeah. I don't think you'll ever get away from that. I still get nerves walking into a competition. No matter whether I'm a company athlete going to compete myself or working the IT, the nerves are there. And
the thing I really like about it though is, and it kind of traces back to what we were talking about earlier, really, with the weigh-ins, it weighs everyone in, and then it works out afterwards. So there's especially with kids wrestling, you haven't got to worry about, I need to lose a pound or I need to lose a kilo or whatever. It works all out, whatever they are. There's no pressures. Everyone's probably going to get, and there might be the odd outlier here or there, don't get me wrong, but 99% of them will get something on that day.
Yeah. I mean, and this is where we're into this. So, it's a 10% rule. So it starts with the lightest person and calculates everybody who's within 10% of that, puts them in a group. You can define the size of that group. So you can reduce that 10% by saying, I don't want a group any bigger than 6. So once it gets to 6, it moves the next 2 up. So, because the problem is up to 6, it's it's sort of pools or round robins. You hit 8 and it becomes a knockout. So you could have
Yeah.
one match and gone. And, at club level competitions, lower level, whatever you want to call them, regional level, you don't need that stress of, if I lose, that's it. I'm probably done.
Yeah.
Because, beginner athletes, they don't always walk in fired up. Some of them need a loss to wake up. So,
Yeah.
and it gives them that as an opportunity. So, at national level, we do have weight groups for U17s and above. So that is, if you're in the U15s, it's still the 10% rule at national level. So U17s, U20s, 23s, and seniors are all driven weight groups. Got the ability to put allowances in if needed, but not many people throw an allowance. I think the next one coming up in Windsor has a couple of kilo allowance. So they've decided to go because they're wanting people from abroad. And there are people from other countries don't understand the 10%. It's they understand weight groups, but don't. How on earth does this 10% work? So when you explain to them, a lot of them go, "Oh, that's not a bad idea." But hey,
No, I really liked it. I just thought it was good because, like you say, there's so much of trying to get in, like especially in like, other combat sports, of making weights and categories and things. And I thought that was a very good way of getting kids on the mats without having to worry about what they were weighing, eating, and whatever else.
Downside is you can't. It's very difficult to rank people because they're never in the same weight group twice.
Yeah, that's true.
So, people are wanting rankings and it makes it difficult at younger age. But should the younger ones be ranked? Their job's just to go out and wrestle. Don't need that pressure of knowing you're number 2, but you really want to be number 1. Yeah. So
no, definitely.
There you go.
So how have you found that all rolling out then? Has that gone down well at your competitions, this new system?
It is going well. Wi-Fi is the big problem. So, almost every problem we've had, and that isn't we've had the odd glitch, has been Wi-Fi driven. It's because everything goes to the cloud, rather than local servers. So if the Wi-Fi is, and if you think about most sports hall, they're almost like a Faraday cage. If they haven't got a decent Wi-Fi in there, which I think you've got it, and you've got boosters, and a lot of them
learned quickly.
Yep, you did, didn't you? But we go to Etihad, and even they have in their squash centre, Wi-Fi is not the best. It can go down.
That wired into the building, wouldn't you? Something like that.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? So, so it's always that little bit, of course, everybody then thinks it's the system at fault, and it isn't. It's the Wi-Fi. So as soon as you get the Wi-Fi sorted, things work really, really well. And there are clubs now using it for interclubs because the system is free.
Yeah.
It's free to affiliated clubs. Okay, so they can see where there was one yesterday in Slough. They ran 2 interclubs on one day. One junior, where 3 clubs got together. There was 40 athletes, and then the other was a senior, U17s and seniors. So you were either U17s or you were over 18s and a senior, and they had about 20 people there for that. So that was one. So there was a host club, had 2 separate clubs for the juniors and 1 club for the seniors. And, and it went okay. Because they're like you, they're used to running it, and they're quite happy to run it as an interclub. It means if it's on the system, it means the person has membership, so therefore is insured. And that's the big thing.
Definitely nowadays, yeah,
you really do. You really do. So, yeah,
that's good.
Okay.
So we've got that going. So what other, what else is happening in British wrestling at the moment then? So you've got the new system through. Everyone's competing now. That we've got more clubs. You were saying spreading out across the UK
Yes,
now, and
when you look at it, when you look now, when we have 70 plus clubs on scattered all over the map of the UK, it's starting to look busy. And when it starts to look busy, you get the BJJ clubs and the MMA clubs wanting to come on board because we have. So the international governing body is for all grappling. So where we're concerned, that includes stuff like Cornish wrestling. So they are on our system. Cumberland and Westmoreland. So they're there as a governing body. Catch wrestling, they're there. Okay. We're looking at belt wrestling. We haven't yet got sumo and sambo, but they're quite welcome to join us because, all we do is just help them. We're not trying to tell them what to do. That's not our job. In so much as you've got to follow some governance rules. So, and then that gives, when you're part of a national governing body, then your members or your clubs have a little bit more confidence about what's going on. Doesn't change what they've been doing, but it just means it gives them a higher profile. Their clubs are listed on our club finder, and it helps. So off the back of that, last year we ran a grappling competition, which is it's a bit like BJJ, but it's on a wrestling mat, and it's an amalgamation of wrestling and BJJ rules. It is no gi and gi. And we send a team to the UWW World and European Championships. So there's one in a couple of weeks' time. It is
that one
hosted. Sorry.
Oh, so where's? Oh, you're going to tell me. So I was going to say, whereabouts is that?
Yeah, no, it's there. I'm not sure. I've seen it on the system. Last time I was involved and went. I went up to it. It was held at Manchester because there was only sort of a small entry. We're trying to give it back because last time, if there was a group of 16 and you won the group of 16, you were going to be funded. There was no, people sort of, I'll let the first one go and then I'll enter. Let's see what happens. But we went out there and we got 3 or 4 medals, several double ups, gi and no gi. There was veterans there as well. So, there was a guy from Scotland, got a medal in the veterans. So, we're doing okay. And it's, it was Azerbaijan last time, I think. So got a trip out there. So we're trying to bring in all the areas because there's a lot of people cross train.
Oh yeah, no, it's so much now. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you get the wrestlers do the BJJ because there isn't a wrestling club in their area. You get the BJJ do the wrestling because they want to get the takedowns on point, and and it just helps. Definitely working with MMA and that. It's
that's what I've always said. It sort of branches off the same tree in some ways.
It absolutely is. Yep. Yeah. There's only so many ways to move the human body.
Yeah.
So
that's it. So what else is British wrestling doing at the moment then?
Okay, currently? So we at the moment, so this last all through December and January, we've just been getting clubs over the line because they have to, so there's been a lot of, approving documents and all of those sort of things. Got a couple of coaching courses coming up, referee courses. I want a referee course down in Slough last weekend. So we're getting more and more referees. So what we're working on at the moment now is upskilling the referees. Working on quarterly seminars and stuff so that, depending on their level, the conference is set to, so you've got one for the higher level ones, which is feedback from UWW. You get those who are newly qualified, need help on where to stand on the mat, how to walk about the mat, how to signal all the scores, all of those sort of things. So we're building an education section for those. We are changing our learning platform so that we've now got to redesign everything. So we got, is it You Train We or You Train something? There was a new platform we're using, so we're having to redo everything, and that's going to be taking some time up in the next couple of months. Just going through and putting it in a format that the platform understands, and then testing it to make sure it's, because at the moment we haven't got the ability to go in and change it ourselves.
Yeah.
And occasionally they have made a system upgrade and it's changed the information that our coaches are asked for. So, in other words, all of a sudden there's a lot of football stuff in there. And I know coaching is coaching, but
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Keep it specific. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, and it's, there's a lot to be learned from the other sports in the fact that, there's how they do things. It's very difficult for some people to separate one sport from another because the rules are different or whatever. And it's, but the more people cross train, which is back to where we are, the more people have an understanding that, it is only different. It's, you've got to learn to adapt. You've got to learn to, I know you shouldn't think as an athlete, but when you're training, you need the ability to switch rule sets. If you're cross training, okay, so I'm doing wrestling, I'm not allowed to choke the guy in front of me, even if he does put his head out for me. So, and those sort of things. So, you need to go into
amount
sport
of people that go to
them.
Amount of times where we've done it and people have gone to their back, where you just see you just lost, and like, oh yeah, but I had a hold. Yeah, no, you're pinning yourself.
You've just lost.
Yeah. So seen that a few
times. We get that from judo, and over rotation on throws and things. It's sort of like so.
Definitely. In the news this week has been the news from America with the NCAA now approving female divisions. Do you think that'll have an impact over here as well? Or because I know women's wrestling is something that British wrestlers have been trying to sort of promote and grow, and they had their own events.
So what was it? Athens, wasn't it? Was the first time the women got in the Olympics. Fairly recent. So they've been trying to promote female Greco as well, the Americans. Okay. Because they've probably realized that as a single sex sport, the Olympic Committee are not happy with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So they've been trying to promote it, but I'm not sure whether it's too little too late for that. As far as the NCAA, the folk style stuff, it's the women have always done the freestyle. So they've had women's wrestling out there for a while, and they haven't even touched the folk style. So a friend of mine, I've done some work with Terry Steiner, who coaches their female team, and he is probably untypically American, very, very quiet, very understated, probably the right man for the job with women. They make connections with coaches, and he's done a really, really good job with Adeline and all that group of girls. So, and he shared me his training program. Oh my God. Yeah, it was, 6 years long, and it peaked for certain competitions. There was intensity, and there was, and it was, but planned. And this was just for the team. Then every single individual had their own version of it. A lot of work had gone into.
Yeah, that's a lot of detail. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're talking Olympic level and looking what they do, it works. So
yeah, definitely.
But I don't think you'll have too much difference here because females, we've always got a little bit of we struggle to keep them past the sort of 14, 15-year-old.
Okay.
Because we ask them to cut their nails. So, but yeah, no, it's a bit of a joke. We do struggle. We do struggle with that middle age group where, I don't think entertainment wrestling helps in terms of it's all about big and muscly and stuff. And this is not what you see when you see female wrestlers. They're quick and they're lithe and they are athletic.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. Downside might be the singlets, but we have tried to address that by allowing rash guards and long sleeves and all of those sort of things and shorts.
Like
just as a
sort of, what would be a no-gi sort of
yes,
thing. Yeah,
no-gi stuff. Yeah, it really took a lot to convince the old wrestlers that we need to get them on the mat. Once you get them in and you get them in love with the sport, they then move on to singlets. But you can't push them into a singlet straight away. It's scary. Number of boys and men are going, I'm not wearing that. And then they get to a competition.
The blokes alone are hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and then they realize nobody's really paying any attention and they start to relax. But if they can wear what they would wear at training, give or take a little bit, it's way more inclusive. And it's now written into our rules that at lower levels, nationals still need the singlets, because if you're going to national level, you are probably going with the expectation of going to international level, and they won't entertain it. But it's levels, and there's a real big novice thing going on at the moment. The better competitions are catering for novices one way or another. So one that I'm involved with, which is the Derbyshire, they have 2 competitions a year, one of which is novice and the other is experienced. So they don't mix them. You go to next one in March is the Windsor Open. They have novice and experience, and they've had talks with the French Federation, who are going, oh, we don't have a novice competition out here. Can we bring some of our novices? So
that's nice.
Yeah. So it's, don't I say, do you tend to sort of, we try things, not always successfully, but we try.
That's one thing I've liked about it. It's always been, or in the 4 or 5 years, I suppose it is now that I've been involved with it. It's with you guys, it's always seemed quite innovative and supportive. Whereas in my previous experience in different martial arts, I think sometimes it's very, very much, this is how it's done. That's what it is. Pay your fee, put your soda patch on, get your membership card and your insurance from the organisation, and off you go, type thing.
Yeah, I was lucky. My martial, they're not interested in patches. We wore a gi purely because t-shirts wouldn't stand the rigor of training. So but we were not allowed to grab the gi. You couldn't use the gi. So everything we did, you had to grab the body inside the gi. Now you try grabbing someone's body, you got some really strong fingers through just learning to control. So, and they were very much, it's like you'd go there, and I loved it because of 4 or 5 different coaches. If you couldn't get it from one coach, you went to someone else. They showed you a different way of doing the same thing. And you kept going from coach to coach till you found something that fitted. So I like that style, So I set up a new club about 3 years ago in a school, Outlaws Wrestling, which is Nottingham. So Nottingham Outlaws. And we went went for 6 months and didn't teach a single technique. All we did was play games. So everything
get
was
them understanding. Yeah,
games-based learning. And then that was interesting to see where it went once we taught technique. Good habits and bad. So you've got to accept that if you're doing games, not everything works. So then it's find another game.
Definitely.
My instinct now is to, how can I solve that by playing a game?
Definitely, because I mean, a lot of us, I mean, we're doing it at the moment. We'll have lots of games. It's like that one technique bit, and then it's back to games again, and just kind of, as I say, it's keeping them in, keeping that retention of the students, and them enjoying it and having fun with it and learning when they don't realise they're learning.
No, that's it. I mean, for tour they start with 4-year-olds. So, and I am there teaching once a week now. I do 3 classes back to back, and I start with the 4-year-olds. They have 3/4 of an hour. It is about 75% games, but all the games teach a technique. The definitions are really, really child friendly. I don't talk about gut wrenches or cross ankles. Everything is a squeeze and roll. So they know that, pretty well describes what they need to do. And 4 years old, 5 years old, they can do a gut wrench, but don't know they're doing a gut wrench.
They can do a gut wrench. Yeah, well, that's. I mean, adaptive teaching is. That's coming in a lot into like mainstream school teaching now. Adapting to the students you have and all that. And that was when I started teaching many years ago. I always thought that anyway. That's the job of the teacher. And it works the same like here as well. Yeah, and. No, that's great to hear. Like 4 years old, man, they could be little machines when they're older. There's some kids I've seen around with some of our tournaments, and you think, oh
they're
man,
just
when you're
enjoying
18,
themselves, running around. I don't like screaming and squealing, but anything else, I like laughter. My classes are noisy, absolutely noisy. The kids are really enjoying themselves. Then they move at 8 years old. They move up to the next class where they do a lot more technique. But out of a class of probably 30 kids, there's probably 3 of them compete at the 8 to 14-year-olds. They don't push them. They're not interested. It's get them there, and the kids absolutely love it. And then you get them. Sometimes I had one came back Wednesday into the second class, and he's going, oh, you used to coach me when I was 5 years old, and he's now 12, 13, and he's been out of wrestling for 4 years and come back. So that's nice to see.
You've started to see sort of back. And now he's come back. Now he wants to come back and do it properly. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
So because they enjoyed it.
What's next then? So you've got all this coaching going on. You've got all the things you're doing in British wrestling. What's next on the schedule for you? What's next to battle?
So at the moment I am. So I have a young girl who's swapped over from judo, and I'm working with her to get her up through the ranks. So and that's so a little bit more perhaps management side, but and it's got a nice relationship with her in terms of, yes, I am a coach, but I'm also looking after all the other bits that you do as an athlete. So she's sharing her training programs and stuff like that with me. So she's very, very eager, and and let's see. We've got the nationals coming in a few weeks' time.
Yeah,
let's see where we're going from there.
And what else for this year with British wrestling as well as we move into 25? Any aims or targets for the organisation?
I think there's a review of the governance of the regions coming. There's always something in the background. I don't have much to do with the performance, but they are, they've obviously had a review and an uptick on their finances. So there's more money coming in. So we're getting more money. from Sport England because we're getting our governance right. We're getting lots more clubs. We're getting things along there. We're also getting an uptick on our performance program, So all along, these little bits and pieces, you're always looking, So it's the first year since past the Paris. Things always tend to have a bit of a change.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised they haven't changed the rules. Because usually they use, where are we? Mid-January, might be February. I've not heard that there's too much changing in terms of the rules, which surprises me. Usually one of the things they do is, because the whole world is getting bigger, so you get the instance of the girls. The top weight for a girl is 76 kilos, and there's some girls who, are very athletic, very tall, can't get down to 76 kilos. So you would have expected that to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember when the bottom weight for men used to be sort of, what was it, 48. Now the bottom weight is 57. So over the years, it has to creep up because the world is getting bigger. Whether through good diet or poor, it's the whole thing. Just that's how the population goes. You see way more 6 foot plus people than you used to. So being of normal height at 5'3", I notice it.
Fair enough. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention or get in that's been happening? Or
just a little bit about any clubs that are interested in join us. There's we on our britishwrestling.org website. There's a club finder page, and there's information on how to become, join us as a club. There's also we have a club development officer. And that email address is on there. My email address is membership@britishwrestling.org. So, and I work closely. So anything that comes to me, I'll pass on anyway. We just want, our aim is, I would love to see 100 clubs this year. We'll get close to it, I think, based on the fact that there's certain areas of the country that are, there's wrestling happening, but not according to our calendar, according to our club finder. We want to get the happening places on so that, people can find them. According to our CEO, the biggest page on our website, and it outclicks every other page 100 to 1, is the club finder. So people are checking us out, to find their nearest club. Always getting inquiries about, can my kid come wrestling? Where's the nearest club? You point them at and they're in the middle of nowhere. So there's a big sort of down your way. I think you're the only one. I think the next nearest one's probably Bristol and Slough and that area. You then look at out East Anglia. Fatur is probably the most easterly one we've got, and that's Peterborough. And they draw people right out from the wash, come in to train with them. Because there's two things. One, they get a good session, a really good wrestling warm-up, and there's always people to train with. Loads of different wrestlers. When you've got probably 50 adults, and that's 14 pluses on the mat, you're going to find 2 or 3 people you can train with, whether it's high level or, someone who's only just starting, they will find someone to train with. And, that's what our wrestling clubs are about. It's about multi-levels of competitors. So,
definitely.
You can't be an elite club because, where do you draw your elite from if you don't grow them yourself? It's all about getting them there. Makes it difficult for coaches because they have to run multiple sessions within one. So you start with a technique and then, okay, so if you know that, get on and practice it. If not, come to me. We'll start with the basics of how to do it.
Yeah.
And then we'll get you to where they are. You'll just have to be patient, and it won't be long, a few months, and you'll be doing it like that. You just got to stick it. Definitely a sport that you can't drop in and out of, I think.
No, you got to get in and develop. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I came to it. I was late 30s. I was 40 before I competed. Oh my God, that was really, really hard work. And I wish I'd started as a teenager. I got competing, and and it was fun, but it was loss after loss after loss. So you keep losing, you go to coaching.
Once I want to get my knee sorted out finally. I got an MRI this week actually, after however long it's been, 2 years. But I want to get at least to do it once, to say
Yes.
like on a, even if I get if I just end up being someone's crash test dummy. I've done it once, just to get it on there, because I've done it all in the gym, but I've never done it on the max. When I was younger and it was around, and that it wasn't like it is now. It was just you sort of did it in the corner of a gym with somebody who thought they were doing it as well. It was nowhere near what it is now. Like you say, the development of nowadays is ridiculous.
Very technical.
I wish I was about 12 years old now.
Yes.
For all the things that are available across the board. It's crazy times.
Yeah, I got sort of arthritis in my hips, so I had them replaced. And that was at about, late 50s, early 60s. I thought, right, as soon as I have it done, I'll start competing again. And then they dropped the competitive age to 61. So once you turn 61, you cannot compete. So, which really annoyed a lot of older wrestlers, because I used to go to the World Championships and there was people in their 80s stepping on the mat.
I mean, if I could
they'd last about 20 seconds. It was just to say, I can step on the mat.
Yeah, at that age, yeah.
Yeah, I can still do it. And then they stopped it, and it's sort of like, really? That's annoying. So it's that's my excuse for not competing anymore.
I've got a few years to get there yet, so I'll try and get it in before then.
Yeah. So.
But no, that's brilliant. No, thank you for taking the time today to come and chat to us. And as you say, was it BritishWrestling.org is where anyone can track you down and find out anything that they need to know about British wrestling. Yep. And and that's wrestlers and clubs, isn't it? They can all go there, and it's all there for them. Yep.
Yeah, and we've got a good competition thing, loads of different levels, and that's all on there as well. So all the competitions are there. Past results are all on there, because that's one thing this new system does. It records it, and you can check back, and you can look. People who do compete can look at they can know when they lost a point. So it's all time stamped. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really useful in terms, for coaches to know what's what. Wrestlers don't tend to do, they don't keep a 5-0 record type thing. You're as good as your last fight, I think. Where wrestling is concerned, they're not too bothered about something that happened last year. So it's what's happening now.
It's a split-second thing, isn't it? It can change that quickly. So it's just
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. Good to know. But okay, well, thank you very much. So that was Trevor Hoskins. Again, you can visit BritishWrestling.org to get information on everything he has spoken about today. That brings us to the end of episode 6 of the Grapple of Your Eye podcast. I've been your host, Brett Summers. Please do check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and all the others. Please give us a like and a follow. That's really appreciated. And also, we're available on all podcast apps and on Spotify and YouTube. Again, a follow, a like, and a nice review would really help us out and be really appreciated. Until then, we'll see you on the mats next time.